Hello, I'm Chris Athanas. I'm a KMP developer. That thing's for sure. The textbook, they just texted me and said they're going to come out and close that thing up finally. So we'll see. Today I'm going to be reacting to some clips about adventure-driven development. Right? That's the whole thing. So there's not a lot of people who actually have this vibe. So I'm kind of like having to repeat some of the things I may have already done with or some of the people. But Steve Jobs really did embody the adventure-driven spirit of like, man, none of the stuff that he did had any guarantee of success. Some of this stuff was just really goofy. Like, why are you doing that? You probably could get in trouble with that. He's like, well, I don't know. We'll see. You know, I'll ask for permission, but this is pretty interesting how this was all put together. And I'm gonna. He does the fool card a lot. Let me see if I can get the fool card out. Let me hold on. Okay, so this is the fool card. This is usually associated with fortune telling and stuff like that, but it's actually a really ancient a Western magical tradition, a spiritual tradition, and this kind of embodies what Steve Jobs was about. Like he has everything he needs with him. He's looking at all the things that could be without really considering all the things that could be. He knows he's on this ledge. He knows he's about to go off into the unknown, but he's got a pure heart because he's got some epic quest that he's on that is worthy, right? And he sometimes will pick up a follower. So there's a lot of symbolism in this thing. Sometimes people call this the subconscious mind. He's just going after. He's following his whims, and that's why it's foolish. It's also very adventurous. But he has in his mind that he feels he's on a worthy quest. And sometimes you're on the worthy quest and sometimes you're not. And the only way you find out is if you start stepping upon it. So let's listen to Steve Jobs a little bit about this. I'll get into that at the end. There's a little special thing at the end if you want to stay tuned for that.
But the key thing is that if you're going to make connections which are innovative, to connect two experiences together, that you have to not have the same bag of experiences as everyone else does, or else you're going to make the same connections, and then you won't be innovative, and then nobody will give you an award. So what you got to do is get different experiences.
Okay, the reason is people have to laugh at that because it's obvious to anyone that's looking is like Steve Jobs is not doing this for awards. Okay, he has a separate quest in mind that's at the top of his head, and it came from an early experiences, which I'll get to at the end of this.
Than the normal course of events. And one of the funny things about being bright is everyone puts you on this path, you know, to go to high school, go to college. I've heard about some kid that's 14 on his way to Stanford, and that's great. That's sort of out of the ordinary. But you might want to think about going to Paris and being a poet for a few years, you know, or you might want to go to a third world country. I'd highly advise that.
I'm in a second, third, but yeah, go out and see what else is going on out there. The tech world is not all there is. I swear to God, there actually are things that are off the screen that will never be on the screen.
And see people and lepers with their hands falling off and all that stuff. It's very much so worth doing. You know, fall in love with two people at once.
No, don't do that.
You know, Walt Disney took LSD. Do you know that?
It looks like he did.
He did once, and that's where the idea for Fantasia came from. It's true, and you can go hear stories about all these people, and the key thing that comes through is that they had a variety of experiences which they could draw upon in order to try to solve a problem or attack a particular dilemma in a kind of unique way. And so one of the things that you'll get a lot of pressure to do is to go in one very clear direction and believe in God and all that other stuff, and that's great, but don't ever walk by a Zen Buddhist because of that. Sit down and talk and buy him lunch. And
well, that was very, very popular at the time, but like what he's talking about is like if you're on this preserver safe path, it's not always the safe path, right? Events and things are coming in. You have to have some of this creator destroyer spirit, and that means that you might have to have pieces of your ego that'll need to go away. So let's look at what most people are looking forward to, and this is Office Space, and it's all required viewing by every adventure-driven developer. Because this if you don't know, this is what all these corporate environments turn into, because they have to if they get something going, you're gonna want these characters around that tolerate this place. Which there's two characters here that tolerate. They say they hate it, but they tolerate it because they don't have the tolerance for this thing called courage. They might have the creativity, but they don't have the courage. That's always the thing that's always missing is the courage, right? Here we go.
Hello, Peter. What's happening? We have sort of a problem here. Yeah, you apparently didn't put one of the new cover sheets on your TPS reports.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot.
Yeah.
You estimated 5 points, and this ticket is looking like a 7-pointer now. You missed the sprint deadline for the amount of points you put on this, so we're going to need you to do better time estimates, okay?
See, we're putting the cover sheets on all TPS reports now before they go out. Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah.
Did you see the when we had the meeting? You remember the meeting we had about being better with our time estimates, Peter?
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just forgot. But
This guy has the. So here's the thing. He's a maintainer, right? He's a Harvard grad that got his MBA, and he's coming in to make this system go, to make it go as fast as possible and as efficient as possible for the contract that he negotiated or his friends negotiated with. Now he has no idea how this technology works. So by the way, they were doing Y2K software. So they were trying to update all this old software that was written pretty hastily a while ago, and all the people left. There's basically one of these things. They were on one of these crawls right here. They were on one of these death marches. Shrinking market, original team long gone, maintenance mode. We just need to fix a few bugs. So the big bug was this Y2K bug, which was all the software was written for having 2 digits for the year to save a little bit of space on all the data. So those are 2 digits. They had to make it 4 digits to do the year 2000. And there was all this, people were freaking out, totally freaking out. So they had all this hype around it. And this guy got the contract. He's not a programmer. He doesn't know how this stuff works. He's not taking any responsibility for this. He's not filling in TPS reports. He's making other people fill in the TPS report.
it's not shipping out till tomorrow, so there's no problem.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great.
So if you could just get that time estimate more accurate from now on, that'd be great. Because I got my Gantt chart, and you're making it overflow.
And I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I'll send you the meeting notes about better time estimates. Okay.
I have the memo. I've got it. It's right.
Hello, Phil. What's happening?
That's all. Well, because that's all that's all he knows, right? That's all this guy knows is his boss, right? Whatever his name is. You know what I'm talking about. He just knows this. This guy, he's over here. He's kind of in this region. He's like, some things are excessive. There's like a lot of room for improvement, and I could do something different here that could exceed expectations. But he doesn't really know what that is yet, right? It hasn't dawned on me. It's like, no, I got a good job. Intertech is a big, good company. And the thing that's funny is like, this came out in like 1999, I believe. And so the Y2K thing was still everybody's mind, right? And the thing about it is, once Y2K comes around, he no longer need job. He out of job. So so his plan of like, oh, this will be good. Like I'll tolerate all this bullshit because I've got a good pension and 401k and all that. And it's just dealing with all these minor annoyances. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah.
And here it comes in for the
get that
reminder of the time estimates need to be better in the future because, again, another level of management. This is the VP level. It went up from this manager to the VP level now because it's really a big problem. This guy's not a programmer. He doesn't know anything about programming. He never heard of it. But somehow he got into the system and he's moved up through his next level down MBA. So he's talking the lingo of the preservers. And what else do they know other than the industrial methods of like you have to complain to your line workers. They're the ones doing the stuff, right? You have to knock on their door and poke them, prod them. I mean, what else is there? What else has he got? He doesn't have any method like making the software and edit the software faster or make this problem go away because a lot of it's just all this. The way that stuff was written a long time ago was completely different than how we do it now because there's all this stuff's all interlocked. It has to be double checked. Yeah, it's not just simple, just make the data line bigger. It's all this other stuff that goes along with it. Some of it's an assembly language because they had to go real fast.
Yeah, I got the memo. And I understand the policy, and the problem is just that I forgot the one time, and I've already taken care of it, so it's not...
Yeah, okay, I'll make the estimates better, sir, next time.
Shit out the window.
You and me both, man. I think it's lucky
I'm
I'm
fast
not
forwarding it. So this is one of the other guys right here. So these guys are preserver types, but one of them's on the lagging edge, one of them's on the other edge, and they're just not. They just don't have the courage, man. They just lack this courage to escape. So
Pepper Jam, when there is no Pepper
that's part of
Jam.
the
I swear to
story.
God,
I'm not gonna
one of these days,
spoil it.
I just kick this piece of shit out the window.
So no matter how frustrating it is or how blasé this
me
is,
both, man.
he's like, this is how become. Like one's like still pissed off, like, I can't believe it's like this, and the other one's like, oh man, it's gonna be like this for a while, and I don't have another way out other than just to totally right at the line of doing the
I
job.
think it's lucky I'm not armed.
There's all these little minor inconveniences that the people at the dial levels up don't have to deal with any of this bullshit because they're telling people to deal with it, right? Well, what are they doing now? They're having coffee breaks and discussing things, who knows what, but they're not doing any of this work because they refuse to touch this stuff. That's not what an Harvard MBA does.
Sam,
And all these minor, silly,
There's nothing wrong with that name.
dumb
Go by
stuff
Mr.
like this.
I gotta get out of here. I think I'm gonna lose it.
So this guy right here, I can't remember his name right here. He's this guy right here. He's kind of like he's done. He's done with all this. He's done with this. So but he hasn't had the inspiration of how we can do it. Now part of the story is his inspiration was totally screwball, but like it was fun, right? And when people do think about that a lot, how to screw over the company that's making, he thinks it's the company, right? It's not the company. The company is doing the things that companies do. It's not the company. That's where he gets a little off. Like he gets a little confused, but it's still a fun story.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
She's a preserver type for sure, 100%. And she's happy with it. She's like, oh, this is good.
Boy, I tell you, some days, one of these days, it's just gonna be like...
See, he doesn't understand that it's him that needs to go, his little ego, his viewpoint on what software development is, and what business is, and what we're here on this planet for, right? This guy's another preserver. He's like happy just to be there, man. He's another type in here. He's like, I'm digging this. All I gotta do is come out, act like a ding dong, wear all these goofy shit. My boss loves it. The customers love it. They give me fat tips. I'm good, man. He's got something else he's working on, right? Like that's usually what happens. It's like, okay, this is a low bandwidth thing, and while I'm doing this, I can work on my other stuff because I already know what's expected of me, and I'm cool with it.
So can I get you gentlemen something more to drink, or maybe something to nibble on? Some pizza shooters, shrimp poppers, or extreme fajitas?
Just coffee.
Okay. Sounds like a case of the Mondays.
He's another one. See, this time he's totally cool with it, man. That's like, I am legit. This works for me.
We're still doing this when we're 50.
Exactly. What happens? What are you doing? Now he's a preserver type. So what does he say?
It would be nice to have that kind of job security.
What did I just say? It's like this company's doing Y2K stuff. They have no job security, and they're just like, it's just like, I'll just have to go next to the next thing because he's like this preserving type. He just wants to do the thing he's been told to do, the thing, and then tell the thing he did. It's like it's not just this epic adventure stuff. It's courage. I'm just glad to be in the country, right? I'm just like glad to be here, being accepted, the whole thing. It's like, and they're also these guys. He's the laggard, putting up with the bullshit, and then this guy's the new guy who just got here. Is like, oh, I saw the brochure. It looks amazing. It's like, yeah, not quite the same. When you're right in the pits of things, it's all printer jams and TPS reports. So here we go. Let's go listen to this. To the next thing over here.
The thing I would say is, when you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and you're your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side. That you can change it. You can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways.
Not everyone wants to do that, right? It's your archetype, it's your viewpoint on life, it's what you want to do in the world, it's what you're focusing on. This preserver, this destroyer creator thing could be, I am like that, like the waiter, and I just showed he's just wants this part of his life taken care of. I'll do it. I'll do the thing I'm told, and I'm not questioning it. I'll just do it as best as I can, right? But for people that things I just need to be improved, right? If you get that feeling, if you're that kind of person, then you're gonna try and do something that makes it exceed expectations. So it's a very small number of people who feel that way, and the small number of people who actually do something about it, right?
Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
Yeah, because it's not promoted in the culture at all. It's kind of implied. It's kind of implied. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm spelling it out. I'm just gonna put it out there for you. It's like it's about getting involved with the adventure, and just some people are into it, and like most people are not. Some people are, but most people are not, right? Because it takes both courage and creativity, right? You have to have both, right? And you might be creative enough, but you don't have the courage. Or you might have courage, but you don't have the creativity, right? Like, he's pretty courageous to come into this environment, this alien environment, these people. He's kind of a foreigner. That's kind of courageous, but he doesn't have the creativity to get the hell out of there yet, or see how people are scamming him, right? And then this other guy, right? There was his name here. Not him. Where is it? Right here. This guy. He has the courage, but doesn't have the creativity, right? He's got the creativity, right? He's got the creativity, but no courage, right? He's kind of a scaredy cat. This guy got those three back. So you have to have both. So that's kind of what the movie's kind of showing you. I don't know if anybody's had this analysis before. Probably not. I'm a weirdo, and I put things together in a strange way. But this is what you can see. It's like can't just be creative. You can't just be courageous. You have to have both of them to do this quest, man. Because the crags up this mountain up here are full of lots of things you can fall down in. It's most of this ego trips about thinking you know everything. That the customer, like, this is the customer here and all his demands. You think you can just, I'm just going to throw a bolt quest of a firebolt, but this thing breathes fire, dude. You can't just throw fire. You can't do a firebolt because it's like that kind of stuff. It's like you got to go out and find out what this, and that means you got to be down here in the pit for a while. You have to get down here, do personal projects and limited level roles and do these dungeons of fake agile doom and the tar pits of seemingly good ideas and direct competition and lead mines and all this other stuff that you have to go through until you go, I gotta. It's like our art, poetry, aesthetics, politics, ethics, all that kind of stuff. Outlook, perspective. It's all this other stuff. Software that people think is all this technical stuff, and it has been, but now we don't. It's not. It's kind of all disappeared now. It's on the cloud, or it's somewhere else, right? This thing's kind of stuff is just a terminal for the information. How do we want to interact with it? Who is our client? Who are the people here that are going to be using our stuff, and how can we make their lives easier, some way, cheaper, faster, better, somehow? That they want to spend money on our stuff and not somebody else's, right? Okay, let's go here.
Grade.
Petty.
Our high school guidance counselor used to ask us what you would do if you had $1 million. Didn't have to work. And then invariably, whatever you'd say, that was supposed to be your career. So if you wanted to fix old cars, then you're supposed to be an auto mechanic.
So what did you say?
I never had an answer.
Ron Livingston, who played Peter, made a great point once. He said, "The movie resonated with so many people, not specifically because it was about working in a dreary office environment. You don't have to have had a job like that to connect with the..."
Right. It's not the office. It's not it's more the attitude of the people around you and the people who are running the company. How do they see it? Where do they get it from? What are they into? Do they have skin in the game that's not just money? Do they have some person? Do they have some personal things they have to do involved with this, getting this thing off the ground? You better believe it. Like, Steve Jobs didn't do everything, but he was involved all the time. Why wouldn't he be? It's like, I kind of want this. The guys that kind of don't get it, man. It's hard to convey this stuff even directly when you're sitting right next to somebody who's locked into this other method, right? Who are locked into this other way. And then I already know this other way. So you're asking me to change. You're asking a preserver who has collected a lot of times and they got their skill set and they don't want to bust out of it. They just want to get paid for that, doing the little part. Or they've been convinced that that's all you should do is super specialize in the industrialized economy. It's like, no, you have to super specialize. Like, I mean, if we're doing adventure-driven development, you gotta have a specialties and then some side stuff, right? You gotta really have to integrate.
Or find it funny or sweet or satirical. It resonated with so many people because fundamentally it's about a guy who's miserable doing what he does, who gives himself permission to quit what's making him miserable, and goes off to do a thing that makes him happy, even when that thing is less lucrative or prestigious, even if that thing isn't going to be permanent. That's the beauty, that's the relatability inherent in Office Space, and it's the reason a small comedy from 1999 could go on to make an impact that resonates this much, this long, after it's made. I'm Danny Boyd. Happy New Year.
Yeah, so that was kind of like a little bit of the point there, and this is where these guys came out of. A lot of the times their stories are kind of sad. Like, he came from, he was adopted, and he's just lucky enough to be adopted by parents who really cared about him and wanted to give him these experiences. But it was a little lonely going to these electronic clubs. These weren't for like jocks or like, these are for kids that are kind of introverted and a little strange and were really interested in electronics. It was a very odd thing. Now, there was a science push back then, but even then, or just to be interested in this stuff, you had to be a little odd. Let's just be a little bit on the spectrum, okay?
And he'd use this skill for good and for bad.
He's talking about his the ability. Let me go back here.
Sign that Steve Jobs has a knack for persuasion, and he'd use this skill for good and for bad. Steve Jobs met Steve Wozniak back in high school in 1968. The two of them would stay close friends for years, eventually co-founding Apple together. Steve Wozniak, or was as he's known, was and of course is an incredible engineer. One of the first projects Steve and Woz worked on was...
So there's Steve right there. So he's in this thing. Look, he's got a mouth guard on. These are super ultra nerds, right? And most of them are just really just want to do their tiny little slice. They want to do vertical drive down into their tiny little slice. But Jobs is a little different. So when people say you can't program or doesn't know electronics, like that, I don't know where you get all that stuff. You haven't looked into his background. He definitely spent some time down here in different ways. He's mostly in these lead mines, right? This is a lead mine. He's down there learning about electronics. There's no money at the end. There's nothing at the end, but it was just technically interesting. It was like, oh, this can fill my mind up. And these people here are interested in something other than whatever else is happening around, like all the pop stars, like stuff. He was not interested in that stuff. And then when he discovered pranking, ooh.
Well, mischievous. They loved playing pranks on strangers and started to build
So this is a Steve Wozniak as a kid. And so he got started super early. I don't know if his parents were involved or whatever or what, but like, look how different he looks. He's just an odd looking guy. And he's working on the oscilloscope here. I'm not sure, but
contraptions to take their pranks to the next level.
Yeah. So here's a TTL logic computer. I think it was a 1-bit or 2-bit computer. It's a 1-bit computer or ALU. It was meant to be an ALU. This is a low-cost 10-bit parallel digital computer which adds and subtracts numbers in a binary code. So yeah, he won his science fair. I won my science fair for a remote control computer controlled robot. I wrote a whole language for it and all this other stuff. So about the same age as him, which is really odd. I didn't know about this stuff until recently.
Their favorite prank involved a custom-built TV jammer put together by Woz.
And I didn't discover that. I knew he used a remote, a different style of jammer for his college, but I didn't know they did an RF jammer until I saw this thing. And I built one of these things myself, and I didn't know until I saw this video a few days ago that I did the same kind of contraption he built for basically the same reasons, and discovered the same things that Jobs discovered, which we'll listen to.
Essentially a TV remote that could cut the signal to any TV and turn it back on with the click of a button. Stephen was...
I'll talk about how I built mine right after this. I think I was 7 years old.
Would creep up to a stranger's house, peek through the front window, and then they'd turn on the jammer and watch the family get frustrated. They keep turning the jammer on and off, annoying usually the dad to no end.
Yeah.
This was pretty funny to them, and I can imagine why. But Steve Jobs had an even better idea. He'd come up with a strategy to make it even funnier. He'd only turn the signal back on once the dad was standing next to the TV with his hand on the aerial. After doing this a few times, it made the father believe that the only way the TV would operate was if the dad stood next to the TV with his hand on the aerial. Stephen would leave in fits of laughter, wondering how long the dad would stay there with his hand on the aerial. It's a funny...
That's great. So that's the spirit of things. That was one of the early quests. He saw a cave opening with this jammer. It's like, Jobs was like, I wonder if we can get that dragon to do something for us. Can we make that dragon dance for us? And there was no the golden prize, the golden chalice in the case of the jammer was the glee of thinking that they could control an adult via electronic box, because they're so fixated on this TV thing that they couldn't let go, like a monkey coconut, right? They couldn't let go, and they that was the prize. And this the benefits went on and on and on as they would go back and think about this prank. And I had the same sensation as well.
Fairly harmless prank, and it shows again that Steve understood the basic principles of human behavior. The obvious principle here is the principle of conditioning. Steve is building a behavior in someone through repeat conditioning over time. I think it's the earliest example I could find of Steve using a psychological principle to influence someone, and it's something that he would continue to do throughout his career, not always through conditioning, but through other psychological principles that influence and persuade. The next example comes later on in his life. It's with another Stephen Was invention. See, the two stayed close friends in high school. During that time, Wozniak designed what he called the blue box.
So this is another one of these quests of a cave opening and realizing. So this was in the air at the time. You kind of had to be tapped in to know about it at this time. But phone freaking was a big time thing in the 70s, and he was into it. I didn't realize how deeply he was into it. I started using Apple One. I thought that was where he started, was with this stuff, but no, he started with this other stuff. And since you've listened to this so long, the way I created my jammer was my parents bought me this operation. My mom, hold on here. My computer froze up for a second. Anyway, my mom's a registered nurse. She was my whole family's into nursing, so except for me, I didn't go that way. I went to technology and computers and stuff. So they bought me this thing, thinking I would be learning. It was a fun game, whatever. It was very popular at the time, and it basically the game is you have these little pair of tweezers, and you're supposed to do these pick out these little pieces that are in these things, and if you touch this metal part, not that one. If you touch the metal part in here, it'll make the guy's nose buzz. It make his nose turn red. It'll light the nose, and it would buzz the whole box. It would shake, and this is kind of what it looks like taken apart. It has this plate here of aluminum metal, a little light, and this little motor with a little a weight on the end, so it would shake. It's like a buzzer in your cell phone. Same concept, except very early, and it was super cheaply made. And the batteries are right here. And what I discovered was this plate. So I took it apart, of course. I'm super curious, and it was super easy to take apart. If you put this plate next to the housing, it would make the screen on the TV interrupt really bad, really hardcore. I was like, huh. So I don't know why I got this idea, but I got some tinfoil out and I put them in this half. I discovered it's half cone. I was messing with it for a while. And my parents were like, stop doing that with the TV. It's like, it's too late. I'm already messing with it. And they eventually just let me do it. I think they went off and did something else. And I shaped the antenna to get the maximum effect. And I was like, wow, this thing really messes up the TV bad. And so I was like, how far away can I do this for? And I discovered you could do it from pretty far away. So I lived in this little series of townhomes. My parents lived where my dad was in the Navy at the time. We just lived in these little townhomes, bi-level, and had like a little front door, and had like the family room in the front windows. You could look straight in, and you could see people walking. So I just walked down, and I went and saw my friends' houses and projected this thing in there. I mean, I just thought it was funny that they got up and went back. I thought that was hilarious. I didn't make them try and stay there for as long as it was. That was an innovation that Jobs came up with. Anyway, so that is kind of some insights about adventure-driven development and look at the mindset involved. Is if you have this mindset already, you really have to get out of that corporate environment as soon as possible. Now it is good to go slog down there and see all the inefficiencies, all the goofiness, all the craziness, and realize that if you've seen one, you've seen them all. It all has the same kind of people in those environments. And if you do have a successful business and you have a successful company, they're coming. They have to run the thing. Once you get something that's good, and you meet expectations for the customer. Oh yeah, you're gonna get these guys to come along, and they're gonna run it for you while you try and go do something else like Jobs did, or Jobs just was the kind of person he was just like, what can I do? I just didn't stop. So if you're that kind of person, that seems to be what our economy is turning into. You're either going to be cogging one of these machines if you're not awake and aware of what's going on, or you can be making these machines and destroying the old stuff and making something new. And if you're serving the customer, I mean that's an ethical. That's an honorable thing to do. That's an honorable mission. Is if you're trying to really improve things for the world and other people as much as you can in the way you want and the way you think you can do it. That's a fool's journey, man. Yeah, sometimes you can leap off and you actually don't see what's over here because we don't know. But it's the unknown. It may be something great, maybe something sucky. We don't know. So yeah, give me a like and subscribe. And I'm Chris Stannis, and I'm a KMP developer, and we're talking about adventure-driven development. I'll talk to you soon.